If elected, you will take office in the coldest month of the year. The cost of energy is currently through the roof. Quick look at where prices stand tonight. Natural gas is up 23% over last year. Heating oil up 76%. And electricity has increased by 126%. We know you're all critical of President Biden and Democrats, but specifically looking forward, what is your plan to bring down energy costs to directly benefit consumers? Mr. Mowers, we begin with you.
Well, Steve, thank you so much, and it's great to be with everyone tonight. You know, I was sitting on the couch this last February with my wife, and we saw a notice pop up that there was a GoFundMe page for a couple with 6 kids up by us who couldn't afford their home heating oil for 2 weeks. So they all huddled around the living room for 2 whole weeks plugging in space heaters. We're going to hear countless stories like that as we go through the next winter. And the problem is this is all driven by Chris Pappas and Joe Biden's policies. It just came out today that Joe Biden has actually provided fewer leases than any president since World War II. These are the policies which are driving the cost of gas right now. We need an all-of-the-above approach. We need more oil and drilling. We need more nuclear. We need to make sure that we're having additional alternatives as well. And we need to make it here in the United States. That's the problem. Right now, too much of this is being produced in China or being produced in the Mideast. We can't have a leadership like we've seen right now with Joe Biden and Chris Pappas who are going around and groveling to people like in Iran or thugs in Venezuela. We need to make it here in the United States. And that's what I'm committed to. You know, I'm the only one who worked with President Trump when I served as senior White House advisor in his State Department to actually approve the Keystone XL pipeline. We knew it was important for the producing energy here in the United States, as well as to ensure that it was open for business here in America. That's what we're going to get back to.
Representative Baxter, to you next. Same question.
Well, we need to restore American energy independence. And Joe Biden's energy strategy is to go begging to the Saudis for oil. Instead, we should build the Keystone Pipeline. We should allow drilling on federal lands, and we need to expand nuclear energy. I'm a state representative from Seabrook, New Hampshire, born and raised there, and we need more nuclear power plants here in New Hampshire. And look at what the Democrats and what Chris Pappas are doing right now. They just passed a $700 billion Green New Deal boondoggle, and they want to pay for that by expanding the IRS, which would harass our businesses, it would harass conservatives here in New Hampshire. This is the wrong approach. We should be expanding American energy independence. And instead of expanding the IRS, especially when we see how political and how these agencies are being weaponized against conservatives like President Donald Trump, instead of expanding the IRS, we should abolish the IRS.
Ms. Leavitt, what specifically would you do to bring down energy costs to directly benefit consumers?
Well, this certainly is one of the #1 priorities of constituents across New Hampshire's 1st District, whom I've spoken with every single day over the past year. This administration launched a war on our domestic energy production in day 1. Joe Biden canceled the Keystone X pipeline. I was proud to work in President Trump's White House when we hosted a press conference announcing that we were, for the first time in our nation's history, a net exporter of oil. And we did that by tapping into the resources that God blessed us with here in the United States of America. We need to reverse the policies of the Biden administration and relaunch our American energy independence. And when we take back the House in January, we have to be very mindful as Republicans about calling out the Democrats for why they've waged this war. They want complete and total control over every aspect of our lives, including socializing the energy industry. They want to control what we drive, how far we can go, how much gas we can put in our oil tanks and in our cars. We have to call them out for their blatant socialism and relaunch our domestic energy production.
Councillor Prescott, what is your plan to bring down energy costs?
All of the above as well. Make sure that we do open up the Keystone Pipeline and get back to the policies that we had 2 years ago when we were energy independent. I also want to mention that my experience in the state Senate, being the chairman of the Energy Committee, is good for this situation. I know how to run committees. I know how to get legislation passed. And that's a really, really big part about being a congressperson, is to have the experience to be able to go down there on day 1 to make good, sound judgment. People are asking for sound judgment, and that's what I have provided for 10 years in the state Senate. So if we go back to being energy independent, that would be the first way that we stop inflation. We have the price of gas and oil going up, and inflation is going up. That's one way of stopping inflation, therefore making things more affordable, not just energy itself, but also the way we live, our way of life. The second thing that does that is a balanced budget. And that's what I will go down to Washington to have done. That will lower inflation as well. It's what I've done in the state of New Hampshire in the state Senate for 5 terms straight. Thank you.
And Ms. Huff Brown, specifically with energy costs, what is your plan?
Well, I have called again and again and again to suspend the gas tax, both federally and statewide, and I call for that once again. Just last week, I met with Mickey over at Ryan's, and she said their electric bill last month was $500 more than the month before. That worries me. It worries me for small businesses. It worries me for people that are trying to pay their bills. My mother lives on Social Security. I worry about how is she going to pay her heating bills. There is no question that we have to stop Joe Biden and his administration. The only way we do that in 2022 is by shifting the House and shifting the Senate. And that's why I'm running, because we have to stop this administration. Energy costs out of control, inflation out of control. Yes, we are not energy independent, and we need to be. This is a huge problem for America, and we're seeing the impact it's having all over the world. Look at what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. A lot of that based upon oil, gas, and energy. Yes, we do have to get back to an all-of-the-above approach. No question about it.